Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. So today we're going to talk about one of my bikes that I call the Rat Turd. I finally rolled it out of the living room after being in there for a couple of years, and here it is. So it's an odd looking bike for sure. It started out, I wanted to build a bike that would be comfortable enough to ride after having back surgery. And I would ride this little bike here until I was well enough to get back on a, regular bike or whatever. So that was the goal. And to meet that goal, I figured, well, I had to have something very cushy in the suspension and the seat. I found that my back did better when my legs were raised, so I had to have some higher foot rests and actually gear shifter up here. And then I had to make some custom handlebars so they landed where I needed them to. So what we have here is an old tractor seat, cast iron. I had to cut these sections out here. It used to come out a little farther like this, so that I could actually put my foot on the ground, because when this stuck out here, my foot was coming way off to the side. So there's this plate. Here's the pivot point, and the seat pivots right here, comes out, and actually this is the old passenger peg mount right here. So this shock is just for the seat. Let me set you up here. All right. So you can see that these shocks handle the seat, and these air shocks back here, standard on the bike, handle the bike. So between the two, it soaks up anything, any bumps that I run over. In the beginning it was kind of like being on a carnival ride or something, bouncing all over the place till I got it dialed in, but it was well worth it. I rode this bike to the Smoky Mountains at least once. That's like 900 miles to get there, and probably a 3,000 mile week. And a lot of people will think that doing that on a cast iron seat would be tough. But it's ventilated, and that really prevents the swamp ass from kicking in, I'll tell you that. And this bowl shape right here, it just fits me perfect. There's plenty of comfort there. I never even thought about putting a pad on it. Over on this side, I said I had the higher foot pegs. I've got, this is an old pedal from a hydrostatic tractor, and this is an old gear from my Aprilia. So that shift linkage runs down right to the stock shifter. So I can shift from down there or from up here. And it just makes it more comfortable, and I don't know. Your bike got something like that? Mine does. Handlebars. I was messing around with some thoughts on counter steering, and it got me to thinking about, push right, go right. And I decided to make the bars a little different. So the right bar comes out and actually goes to the left grip, and the left bar comes out down here around the front and goes to the right grip. Kind of unique. Not many people actually pick up on that when they first look at the bike. It just looks like a big mess up here, but if you look close, oh yeah. So, I got that going for me. Over on this side, we got your standard issue plain card in the spokes, a piece of expanded steel to make a ventilated front web or fender. It's not easy bending this expanded metal on two different radiuses. I fought that to make it look as good as it does. You got to have your brass 12 gauge shell and air horns and rat. You know, I wanted to make a fuel tank that looked like no other, and I think I pretty much succeeded in that. These pipes were from a 6-inch exhaust system, and I just capped and welded them and put these clear plastic tubes in between so I could see fuel level here and fuel level going up to here. And it's worked pretty good. I mean, good enough that I've not run out of fuel yet, been stranded or anything. Here on the carbs, you'll notice I got the 7 on there. 7 represents a bad day. It was a bad afternoon. I had them carbs off of there 7 times that afternoon trying to make this thing run right at some point. It was such a nightmare. I kind of got most of it blocked out of my head, so I couldn't even tell you what I was digging for, what I found, or how I fixed it. So we're going to leave it at that. For side panel here, I got the snaps on a piece of vinyl. It's a rat's nest underneath there, a wiring. The battery's supposed to live under there, but it's not in there anymore. You know, got my copper tube wrapped around a custom-made header. So these are the stock down pipes, but what I did was create my own 4-into-1 collector, and then, you know, you got to have the rain flapper. And more pinstriping. Oh, back here we're looking at my family crest for the bike, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. I've got a pair of wrenches that are tied down to kind of represent, you know, big ideas but not big funding to move forward on them, or having to use ingenuity to get around not having the funding for big ideas, whatever. That's kind of what the tied down wrenches represent. You know, the Punisher gearhead thing, I just thought that was kind of cool. This is a sprocket off my Aprilia, I believe. And then the motorcycle versus deer represents a bike accident that I had that landed me in the hospital for a week. And the whole thing is on a U.S. interstate shaped street sign, you know, with the blue and the red and the shield, just to represent my desire for long distance travel. Oh, we also back here have a pair of LED license plate lamps, and then this strip right here is the only rear lighting that I have. I think the outside LEDs are yellow and turn signals, and the middle ones are tail and brake. So what I got to do now is I got to mount that lawnmower battery in this saddlebag. I can't remember why, but I know I need to do that. I can't remember if the charging system failed or if I just didn't want to spend $100 on a motorcycle battery at the time and had a lawnmower battery to throw in there. But either way, I'm going to throw the battery in, put some fuel in it, and we're going to see if this thing runs after sitting in my living room for a couple of years. Alright, my fuel gauge. Clear tube, there's fuel here. Not quite fuel here. So now I got at least this much in it. Open the petcock, we'll see the fuel level coming up in there. And all over the place I'm leaking. Kind of expected that. Well, there's your problem. There's no O-ring in there. Where do you suppose that went? So I needed a fuel petcock, much like this one right here. This is a tractor part, and I thought a good place to get a tractor part might be a store called Tractor Supply. It was a beautiful day and I wanted to take the Ultra for a ride, and I decided to pick a store about 25 miles from here. Nice back roads to get there. So I check out the one aisle of actual tractor parts that they had, and they didn't have the part I needed. Yeah, they might want to consider renaming that store. Anyway, on that ride on the Ultra, you know, I see down the road at one point, the country back road, twisty. I see a bike pull out into my lane, go in the same direction, about a half a mile ahead of me. So I'm watching this guy, you know, and he's I couldn't tell right away what kind of bike he had, but by the way he could accelerate in the straights, you know, it had decent power. But we got into the turns, and it was pathetic to watch. The guy was all over the road. You could tell he didn't know what he was doing. And, you know, I don't know. I guess I wanted to say something to him, you know, or find out what was going on. Is this guy just some kid who's learning how to ride? Is he drunk? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I have the opportunity, I know that there's a stop sign coming up in a little bit. And if I have the opportunity, maybe I'll say something to him. I don't know. So as it turned out, he pulls up to the stop sign and leaves room for me to pull up next to him, and I do. And he's got all the gear on. You know, he's got nice flip helmet. You know, all the apparel. He's on a sport touring bike, and he's on a country back road that's twisty. So we know what he's up to, or at least trying to do. And he flips his helmet up, and I says, hey, how many years of riding experience do you got? And he says, 3. I said, have you ever heard of the term counter steering, or do you know what it means to push right and go right? Well, I might have heard of that. I said, you should probably look into that. I mean, you're going to really enjoy them turns if you're not struggling like you were back there. I mean, counter steering is going to get you through. There's no reason I should have caught you in them turns on that bike right there. There's no reason I should have caught him. I says, just Google it or something and check it out. And you know, despite the fact that we were on a country back road, there was other traffic. So that was it. That was the end of our conversation. We had to move along. And I don't know. I mean, I know it was a jackhole maneuver to pull up next to a perfect stranger and tell him he rides like crap. But on the other hand, what was he going to do? Beat me up? I mean, all I had to do was drive off and find 2 turns, and I'd have lost them. So, I don't know. I'm just hoping he was a young kid who, maybe much like me, didn't have anyone else in their life to to talk with about bikes or something, and he just didn't know. Who knows? He certainly, you know, I mean, he was all over those turns, not 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 showing any skill at all. So maybe he'll do a little Googling or something like that and figure out what he was doing wrong. We can only hope. So that's all I got for you on the rat turd for today. We're gonna have to save the test ride for another time until I get some parts to finish this up and get it running. Thanks for watching. Later.